Hello, Andrew Hebard here with the Flower channel, Regenerative Omegas for a Regenerative Planet. And today I'm with Dr. David Gundermann from MegaFoods. And I've been really looking forward to our discussion today, David, to learn more about your role within MegaFoods, more about MegaFoods, and obviously about Flower and the whole omega-3 industry. And to start with, I'm going to try and do justice to your very impressive sort of academic track record up to this point to say that you're the uh, principal lead, I believe, at MegaFood in the nutrition and science area, where you do product formulation and the clinical research, which enables the product development. And then prior to that, you have a bachelor's of science in human biology and nutritional science, an MSc in applied physiology from the University of Florida, and a PhD in nutrition and metabolism. And then you've got two postdoctoral fellowships where you studied kind of large scale research at the University of or the Institute of Aging in Florida. And you joined MegaFood in 2021, and that enabled you to combine your professional experience and personal passion for pulling together nutrition, metabolism, molecular physiology, really to support and lead MegaFood's product development in the development of supplements, really that impact human health at a cellular level. And then I suppose if I pull all that together in summary, you're a nutritional scientist, a metabolism expert, and you're an avid athlete, I think, currently living in Florida.
Yes, yes.
So tell me about the avid athlete piece.
Well, I was growing up with a family of all athletes. You know, my dad is an avid athlete, and so athletics was always part of our life growing up. And then interest in nutrition and how it impacts the human body has always been, center to that. And so that's where my interest stemmed from, is really trying to understand how do nutrients impact our health, our ability to perform. And at least when I was in my undergraduate career, there seems to be this misunderstanding, or at least not very well understood ideas of how nutrients are impacting our bodies. And so that's what led to, my interest, even at the undergraduate level, taking classes in metabolism and then independent studies along this domain. And then I pursued that from there. So that interest just continued to blossom into my master's at Florida, doing basic science. And then, as you mentioned, the PhD in nutrition metabolism. And that was more translational kind of clinical research, where we look at a certain intervention and see the acute short-term effects with really sophisticated techniques. In the first postdoc, it was more molecular physiology, where we did cell culture stuff. We did really cutting-edge molecular physiology in animal models. And then in the second postdoc, it was very large-scale clinical research, studies of thousands of people, hundreds of investigators, and durations that lasted years. So like as large as clinical studies could be. And so combining all these things really gave me a foundation to get appreciation for all the biological research that is available to us, and using that to apply to my own passions in nutrients and how they can impact the human body. And right after my tenure in academia, was working for a sports supplement company. I did that for 6 years, and then moved on to MegaFood as the principal nutrition scientist. And so I work, very closely with our innovation and R&D teams, but one of my roles is product design and finding ingredients, understanding the science behind those ingredients, whether it be, looking through the literature, or sometimes we do clinical research on the ingredients, and then we do sometimes clinical research on our finished products. So it's been a lot of fun working for MegaFood in this capacity.
Well, your enthusiasm and expertise just shines through. So, I mean, I sense that and I see that, which is great. And before this call, and obviously we've worked with MegaFood for a few years, which we're delighted to have done that. I got to know a little bit about the business, but I kind of did a bit of a deeper dive into it before this call, and I can see why MegaFood is such a great organization for you to be part of. And I've got a few things here that I pulled off your website, which just really stand out and speak volumes about the mission statement at MegaFood. First of all, you're a B Corp, which is great. We're also B Corp, so I salute anybody that's gone through that process. You're part of the 1% for the planet grouping, and also you're certified now as plastic neutral. Three things that are really important from a planetary aspect. But what really jumped out to me, and I love this because this is a saying that I use myself about how important it is to be connected to the ground and the dirt and the soil and what have you. And one of the statements there is that, or I think it may even be your mission statement, is hands in the dirt, eyes on the future, answering the call for something better. And yeah, just such a cool statement to make, and it speaks volumes to say about your passion about a holistic view about health and wellness and the role that nutrition plays in that. So one thing I wanted to home in on today is obviously we've been in discussions for some time now, and you've launched a product which is quite innovative in the omega-3 space. And that's a combination of ahi flour and algal DHA. And you've seen this market evolve over many years, both during your research period and your time in the sort of sports supplements and now with MegaFood. How do you think, or how are you seeing the omega-3 consumer today, say, versus what you'd have looked at them 5 or 10 years ago? How do you think that has evolved and the mindset the consumers evolved?
Well, yeah, it's hard to say, but I think there is an increasing awareness of omega-3 supplements, or at least the effects of omega-3s on the body. And it's more than I think the classical people are thinking of their heart health or maybe eye health. I think there's an increased awareness of how much it can do and how it's involved in every tissue, it's involved in every cell. And I don't believe that most of the population is getting enough of it, considering that its natural source is typically fish, fatty fish. And I always would have said, if when people ask me, what supplements do you recommend? I'm like, well, if you're not eating a diet high in fatty fish, I would recommend a fish oil, because there's just so many health benefits beyond the typical benefits you're normally associated with. There's cognitive benefits, there's metabolic benefits. In my world, there's even muscle health benefits. There's benefits galore. And so that's one thing, is this increased awareness of the effects of omega-3 supplementation. Now, second to that, I think this is true for general people, not even specific to omega-3s, but there also is an increasing demand for plant-based nutrition. And so there is an increased transition from people who are consuming less and less animal products and wanting to replace that with plant products. Now, what's happening is that people are starting to learn that this creates a bit of a juxtaposition, because classically, plant-based omega-3 fatty acids, although the products will tell you, great source of omega-3s, they're not really conveying a lot of the really great benefits that you would get from a really complete omega-3 fatty acid spectrum. And so, from an FDA standpoint, you see that, there's only one of those fatty acids considered essential, that's ALA. And ALA is the essential fatty acid because if in sufficient quantities, it makes all the other ones that are considered non-essential, downstream a whole biochemical pathway. And plants typically only contain the ALA. Now, what is being missed is that there's a very, very tight bottleneck right after ALA, that the conversion of ALA to all the downstream fatty acids is very, very poor. And so that's why I would almost always tell someone to consume a fish oil, because they already contain those downstream, critical fatty acids that the plants typically are not. And so, to answer your question, I think the consumers are getting more aware of it's not just the omega-3 fatty acids that you want, but those ALA only supplements are not going to be the ones that are going to take you there. And so you get this interesting intersection. It's like, well, you want something efficacious, and then there's this demand for plant-based nutrition. And, in the recent past, that's something that hasn't really been accessible.
Right. Now, you make a really good point there about, I think, how the consumer is becoming more aware. The consumer is becoming certainly more educated, because omega-3s have been And they've taken up a lot of the conversation in the sort of nutritional space. And I would say mostly for the good. In some instances, it's been some for the bad, where there's, questions around true efficacy and some of the study results that have had mixed results. But the other thing that has really struck me, and my background is agriculture and agricultural science, and I come more from the production background, looking at different plant species that have omega-3 fatty acids in them. And over the last 30 years or so, many, if not most, of the major commodity oilseed crops that we rely on for our source of lipids in food, in convenience foods, particularly sort of frying applications. Many of those oils going into mainstream food products, baked products, dairy products, that sort of thing, or non-dairy products. We've actively removed ALA from those food groups by plant breeding. The level of ALA in soybean now is significantly lower than it was 30 years ago. The level of ALA in canola and in corn, because it's so prone to oxidation when it's used in everyday food products, particularly things like French fries and what have you. There's been an active move to reduce that amount of omega-3 from the diet. So I think our background diets are lower in omega-3 today. So it's like it's got this competing force. Our background diets are lower in omega-3. We need more in our diets. Therefore, the stuff that we take in our diets has to be more effective or efficacious, as you say, and how quickly that translates through to sort of longer chain fatty acids. So with that in mind, and the work that you spearheaded at MegaFoods, which was the development of this of the new product that's just been launched, Artiflab plus Algal DHA. What was the sort of process that you went through? Because you were responsible for the sort of ideation behind it, and then the development work that to many consumers that look at the product say, well, it's just a new recipe. But when you actually go through the work to think about the development, the communication of health claims. Could you talk us through that? Because that's something that we're not often privy to, is actually the work that goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah. Well, something like this could start from our innovation team. They'll say, we need a vegan omega because, their market research will suggest that people will change their supplement if we provide something unique or better or have a sensory improvement or what have you. So that was where my involvement started. Is okay. So we're looking for an omega, and we need something. I'm looking for something that's clinically efficacious, something that's unique. You go to a show like Supply Side West, and there's lots of different suppliers that say, "Oh, we have one, we have one, we have one," and I came across Ahi flour, and they were very, very friendly. Talked to their scientist and was able to get the story, get the mechanism, understand what they're promoting. And usually on the front end, you have to play devil's advocate and be a little critical of what they're going to tell you, because a lot of companies will give you claims and maybe they exaggerate something or maybe they're embellishing something, because it's hard to find something really unique and really exciting in the natural health food kind of space. And Ahi flour was really exceptional in that. And in discussions with their scientists, I really got a really good idea of something really special here, something that really solves, the biochemical problem that, we have. And so, took that back to our innovation team and was able to get some companies buy-in. And then we worked on telling the story, because it's more than just your standard, here's a nutrient, here's the benefit. Here's another nutrient, here's the benefit. There is a really cool story here. And it hits on a lot of the guardrails that MegaFood has. So as you mentioned, 1% for the planet. We want to have ingredients that are conscious to our planet. And here's one that is, not affecting our oceans, not affecting our fish supply. We also want something that's plant-based. And so here's a solution that's plant-based. And we also wanted something that has efficacy. And so as I mentioned earlier, there's this conundrum of efficacy in the plant-based omega space. And this is something that, rather than just talking about, okay, here's omega and here's the benefits of omegas, is we can talk about more specifically how it works. Here's some of these fatty acids. Here's how it compares to other plant-based omegas. And here's how it actually compares to like fish oil and their omegas. And so the storytelling, I think, was really, really exciting for me because it's a better storytelling experience than my typical experience of saying, yeah, this nutrient does this. And so that was really exciting from a development standpoint.
Great. And it's changed, I think it's changed the narrative around plant-based omegas being labeled as kind of inherently inefficient. You know,
Mhm.
that because it's been limited to flaxseed oil or chia seed oil or what have you. And I'm really glad you pick up on that because ahi flour in our mind is kind of it's a new innovation as we think about ceridonic acid and how kind of biologically advanced that is and its propensity to metabolize through to EPA and DHA. And you talk passionately and very knowledgeably about the planet and about MegaFood's role within giving back and preserving the planet. And I believe regenerative agriculture is very important to you in that sense. And as you know, it's very important to us as well. So is that a key component of MegaFood's procurement and supply chain strategy is looking for things that are regeneratively grown?
Yes,
And also I saw that you're um, uh, very keen on eliminating glyphosate from the supply chain as well.
correct. Yes. We're always looking to select suppliers who have uh, believe have a sustainability, social impact, environmental impact story behind them. And so our consumers and our retailers, they'll be leaning on us to make sure or to for us to select suppliers and select ingredients that have that. So the suppliers that have these kind of benefits are things that we'll be favorably selecting in the market in the marketplace for our ingredients.
Right. Well, and that's kind of a great segue into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is, MegaFood has this reputation, and it's a very well earned and justified reputation of taking a holistic view of nutrition. And I think one of the things again I saw from your from the website is this statement about everyone being nourished from your products and taking this view that it's not just about the food that we eat, it's about the supply chain, it's about the effect that that supply chain has on the planet, which I think is just wonderful. We love to be aligned with companies like that because we share such similar values about you know preservation of the land, preservation of the oceans, regenerative agriculture, and that sort of thing. How, when you look at a product like your omega-3 lineup, do you think those factors now play into consumers' decision making when they think about a holistic mindset? So they're thinking not just about their whole body health and wellness, but also from a planetary point of view. And you mentioned earlier about plant-based is a growing trend. Ocean awareness is a growing trend. I think it's also safe to say that concerns over potential contaminants in the supply chain, and just talked about glyphosate, but in the case of maybe marine oils, we're also thinking about things like microplastics and PCBs and that sort of thing. Is that all part of the consumer psyche at the moment, do you think?
We believe so. We believe that is, at least that's what MegaFood's direction is, and it seems like our consumers are at least interested in that. And it's possible that that's a constant trend or continual trend that we will see more individuals having more interest in the planet, looking to source more organic or regenerative organic or fair trade. You know, Companies that are reducing their wastewater or energy or using renewable energy. These are all things that could be the future of our consumer, and that's certainly something that we will be focused on as we move forward.
So if you think strategically, and please obviously don't share, I'm not trying to put you on the spot to share strategically or commercially sensitive information now, but as you look forward maybe 5 years from now, how do you think the landscape for the consumer is going to change, and how responsive or how will MegaFood be responsive to that, both broadly from a holistic point of view and then specifically from an omega-3 point of view?
Well, if we were to try to, I don't know, look at a trajectory of where we think the consumers are going now, it may be more of the same. It may be, individuals looking for more, third-party certifications, or looking for more examples, or more, companies that are really focused on sustainability and planet health. Yeah, so it's hard to say exactly where the population is going to go, but if we follow the trend, it seems like maybe that will be the case, and maybe it'll be even more interest in plant nutrition and following the same trajectory.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, from the surveys that we've done, and obviously we don't do a great deal, but we're very actively looking or acutely looking at surveys that have been done. And I think this trend of consumers voting with their wallets is going to make a big difference. And what is driving those decisions is an awareness. And of course, that doesn't apply to all consumers and all segments of the market. But I think in the area of when we talk about holistic health and wellness, holistic nutrition, planetary health, those are the things that I sense, or we sense, that have there was a honeymoon period where you could get away with greenwashing in that space. Check the box, is it sustainable? Check the box, is it traceable, etc. But you make a very good point about things like increasing certifications and scrutiny, and there's fewer and fewer places you can hide behind now with social media and transparency and that sort of thing. So I think that's definitely a trend that we're also seeing. I think also the recognition that regenerative agriculture is a thing now. It's been talked about for many years, but that now there's certain certification schemes in place for that. I hope that'll become a drive as well, where people are thinking more about how was this grown and what was the impact that this had on the planet and that sort of thing. And then the last thing that you've seen, and we've very much witnessed this, is that I think the scientific landscape for omega-3 nutrition has changed more maybe in the last 2 or 3 years with the research that's come out than maybe it has in the last 32 or 33 years. There was a period where it was accepted science that ALA doesn't convert very efficiently, as you've said. Therefore, you need to take EPA and DHA, and anything in between really wasn't worth considering. And now, we're recognizing that actually, particularly stearidonic acid, is playing a vital intermediate role there. And not only is it sort of changing the notion about plants being effective as precursor sources for EPA and DHA, I think it's also changing the narrative around the benefits of seeing the body seeing the metabolism all the way through from SDA to EPA and DHA, not just the fact that you create EPA and DHA, the fact that on its journey, it's accruing some health benefits as well. So I think there's much more to come out in that area. And if you had your wish list, really as leading the innovation and clinical research and product development function within MegaFood, if you had your wish list of where do you see the gaps in that science, how could a company like ours or Arhiflab be responsive to that and be more effective even at filling in some of the gaps that continue to appear as we learn more? We realize that we've learned a little bit more, but actually we've also realized that we still have a lot more to learn. Is there anything there that you'd like to see research done on?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I think you touched on something really great in that. So the problem was that bottleneck from ALA to all the things downstream. And so right below that bottleneck is SDA, right? And so you have SDA, and that converts to ETA, and that converts to EPA. And I feel like the majority of the population would probably only recognize, EPA and DHA because that's what exists in fish oil. And when we look at ahi flour and the clinical studies, the very impressive clinical studies, looking at its conversion to EPA is great compared to, the leading plant-based omegas, usually flax. So when you look at that compared to flax, remarkable EPA production. The one thing I imagine to really compete with fish oil would be not necessarily its impact on EPA and DHA, But maybe there's other metabolites because you think of fish oil, you think EPA, DHA. But what about the individual effects of SDA and the individual effects of ETA? Because you get the more complete gambit of all these fatty acids, I think we would be, in a really great position if we could show that your body needs, or at least can benefit from, all of them independently, not just because they're a cog in the biochemical process that get to EPA and DHA, but because on its journey, it's actually conveying its own individual benefit.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's something that we've just started to, we're just starting to see. We're seeing some of the unique metabolites from SDA metabolism, and many of them fall into that broad family of sort of providing an anti-inflammatory effect, but we're not entirely sure quite how and to the extent that they do that. But that is an area for more research. And as you say, each step along the path there, it's like this is producing some beneficial health benefits in of itself, not just by the fact that it's becoming EPA and DHA. So when we first started out down this journey, it was, I don't mind admitting, it was a singular focus on, can we find the source of SDA, because that converts more efficiently to EPA. We had no knowledge really of quite the health benefits, the additional health benefits that you get through its metabolism kind of in of itself. So very interesting. Well, as our budget permits and as our expertise allows, we'll be pursuing this. We work, as you know, with a lot of the university sort of faculties in North America and Europe, for that matter, to advance omega-3 science and our understanding of its metabolism. And look forward to working with MegaFoods as we work through that. And it's been a real pleasure, David, chatting with you this afternoon. Any sort of closing thoughts before we sign off?
No, it was really a pleasure speaking with you too. And I'm really excited about our ahi flour product. And, it's probably one of the more exciting launches that we've had, for me personally, because we get to tell such a unique story. It's something that I've been communicating to our sales teams, like, no, this is actually really cool and it's really unique, and it's unique in the marketplace. And I think we can tell a better story than here's a nutrient, here's that benefit. And so we're really excited about this. And so far, I think it's been doing really well.
I love the way you've positioned it in the marketplace. And I think on behalf of all of my team who've worked with all of your team, you have really impressed everybody at Nature's Crops about the depth to which you've gone into with your research about stearonic acid, obviously, about omega-3 metabolism, but also down to the level of explain how you contract grow your crops, about regenerative agriculture. Where in the world does it come from, and what does your supply chain look like, and how can you assure that glyphosate isn't used on the crops? Those are the sort of questions that only come when you really understand the whole supply chain, and also want to sort of live up to a mission statement like hands in the dirt, eyes on the future, answering the call for something better. I think that's so cool. So we've loved working with you, and I think the product is going to be a huge success. I hope that you and any of your team will be able to join us. Hopefully next year, we're going to be having a small ahi flour conference in the UK at one of our farms, doing a sort of combination of update on the science around stearonic acid, but also a seminar on what it really means to be a regenerative farmer and how you go about integrating that into milk production, potato production, ahi flour crop production, etc. I think it will be very informative. So I hope maybe we get the chance to meet you there.
Yeah, it'll be very exciting.
Great. Well, thanks so much, David, and look forward to our next chat.
All right. Thank you. And thank you for having me.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.